Hello, first year students. This is your subject Basic Electrical Engineering of University Code KEE 201 for the second semester. There are total 5 units. Out of unit number 3 and 4 based on machine. Unit 3 based on the transformer is a static type of machine, and unit 4 covered all rotating machine. All rotating machine can be further classified according to the type of sources, either the DC source or AC source. Hence, machine may be DC machine and AC machine. Where the AC machine further classified as a single phase AC machine and three phase AC machine according to the single phase AC supply and three phase AC supply. The three phase AC machine may further be the three phase induction motor and three phase synchronous motor or generator based on the working principle. But in this lecture of unit number 4, I will focus only the DC machine. Now we start this. Cover the following points: introduction of DC machine, construction of DC machine, working principle of DC machine, working principle of DC generator, EMF equation of DC machine, speed equation of DC machine, torque equation of DC machine, and then numerical of EMF equation. To start this lecture, first I give introduction of the DC machine. When a machine is converting electric energy into mechanical form, it is operating in the motoring mode. And when this machine convert mechanical energy into electrical form, it is operating in the generating mode. So depending on the conversion processor, the same machine can work as a motoring mode or the generator mode. Mechanically, all machines consist of two main parts, stator and rotor. The stator is the stationary part and rotor is the rotating part of the machine. The small distance between the rotor and stator within the machine is called the air gap. The stator and rotor cores are made of iron, steel or another ferromagnetic metal. In order to reduce the magnetic reluctance, altogether the stator, rotor and air gap. This is the construction of a DC machine. This is a very easy view to draw the construction of this machine. Here the outermost body of DC machine is a yoke. This is the yoke, which is made by magnetic materials like the cast iron. This is very important part which provide mechanical protection of the machine and also provide magnetic path of that machine, which creates from field poles and flow from north pole to the south pole, and its flux completes its path through the yoke. Field poles produces magnetic flux inside the machine. Field poles always in even number, means number of north polarity field poles should be equal to the south polarity field poles, and alternate polarity are placed together. In this way, the field poles are placed which produces the flux. The field winding which is bound around the field poles. Whenever field current will flow through the field winding, then only the field poles will create the flux inside the machine. Shaft is located in the center of a machine. Shaft is a rotating part which carry all the rotating unit with like the armature and commutator. Armature have the armature slots in its outer periphery, and the armature windings or armature conductors are placed in this slot. Commutator also fitted with the same shaft, and in the outer periphery of the commutator are the commutator segments. The number of commutator segments are the same as the number of armature conductors, because each commutator segment is connected with each armature conductor. So suppose the armature conductors have 1000, then commutator segment will also be the 1000, and segments are insulated by the mica to each other. This is the stand by which the machine can place on the ground, and finally this is the hook. So this is the construction of a easy view. Now we will discuss the another cross-section view of the construction when we can detail. So this is the construction of a DC machine. This is the open view of a real machine, where the 1 indicate the shaft. This is the axis which placed on the axis of the machine, and the all rotating part are fitted with the shaft. Number 2 indicate the end bearings. This is very important part by which the terminals connections are coming from the outside. Commutator is a third indication. We know commutator is the device which are required to convert a AC to DC in case of the DC generator, and it also convert DC to AC in case of a DC motor. With this fourth number is the brushes. Brushes are made of either the carbon or the copper, and the function of brushes is to collect the current from commutator and provide the outer circuit. The commutator will not rotate, but brushes will not rotate, and commutator is rotate. So brushes press the commutator segments. So this way the 4 brushes will work. Fifth one is the armature. Armature is a rotating unit which carry the rotor, and armature conductors in its outer armature slots. 6-1 is the main pole. This is the field poles which produces the flux inside the machine. With very clear view. 7-1 is the main pole field binding. Main pole field bindings are wound around the main pole, and whenever the field current will flow through field binding, then only the main pole will produces the flux inside the machine. 7 indicate after the 7, the 8th indicate the frame. This is the outer push part of the body, the frame, or this is the yoke, a very important part of the machine, which provide mechanical protection of all the machine, and also because it is a magnetic materials, so through the yoke magnetic flux will complete its path from north polarity main pole to the south polarity main pole. 9 is the end shield to cover the machine. 11-1 is the baseband, or this is the stand through which we can place a machine on the ground, and 12 is the bearings. So this is the real view of the DC machine. Now we say something more about the DC machine. So we know the construction of DC machine. We can divide the construction of DC machine basically in the two parts: stator, which is the stationary part, and the rotor, and the rotating parts. In the stator or stationary part, these are the stationary parts, which is a part of the stator. Stator, this is a frame which consists of nameplates, terminal box, and it provides the support for the machine and provide the pole flux and the flux. Stator core, this is also known as the yoke, which provide mechanical protection. Stator poles, stator poles always are in even order. Number of north polarity stator poles should be equal to the number of south poles. Field winding, this field winding is bound around the stator poles. Then only when field current produced in the field winding, then only stator poles produces flux, and the flux will complete its path from north to south. Commutating poles are necessary in the large DC machine only. This is the interpoles to improve the commutation or to avoid a spark between the brushes and the commutator. Compensating windings are also required in the large DC machine only, and it cancel out the armature reaction effect and remove the flux weakening phenomena. Brushes, these are attached to the stator and cover up of carbon, graphite or copper, and its function is to collect the current from the commutator. Rotor unit, the rotating part consists of this: the rotor core, the rotor core, which is known as the armature, and armature carry the armature slots in outer periphery, and in the armature slots armature conductors are placed. Armature windings are wound in the armature slots. Armature winding will be wound either in the lap connection or wave connection. In the lap connections, all the conductors are divided in parallel is equal to the number of field poles, and for the wave connected, conductors are divided in the two parallel paths. Rotor shaft, this is the main axis shaft of the machine. All the rotating parts are fitted with the main rotor shaft. Bearings to support the rotor shaft, and commutator which is mounted on the shaft, insulated each other commutator segments which convert AC to DC mechanical rectification and keeps the rotor MMF stationary in the space. So in this way, all the part of the DC machines can be categorized into one. This is the magnetic field unit, which produces mainly the field flux, field poles. These field poles are laminated pole core to reduce the eddy current effect, and all the laminated sheets are riveted by the bolt, and this is the pole shoes through which the magnetic flux will equally distributed inside the machine. Field windings which bound around the field poles when current flow through it. A yoke, this is the outer part of the body of the yoke, which provide mechanical protection as well as work for the magnetic flow of path in the machine. So the flux inside the machine completes its path. This is the north polarity of the poles, field pole, and the flux produced from the north pole and enter in the south pole, and from south it will complete its path through the yoke like this. So in this way the flux will complete path from north to south and through the yoke. So yoke provide mechanical protection as well as for magnetic flow of path in the machine. Armature, the center, the shaft, and with the shaft is the armature. Armature have the armature slots in outer periphery, and armature conductors are placed in the armature slots. This is the complete unit of a machine. Armature, this is armature, and the armature windings, and this is the commutator and commutator segments. Each armature conductors are connected with the one commutator segments, and in center this is the shaft. Armature made of the whole laminated sheet like this. All the sheets are laminated to reduce the eddy current losses, and finally all laminated slots are fitted with the bolt, so make a armature, and it's the armature slots in which armature conductors are placed. So the commutator segments, it is the rotating unit, which convert with the help of the process AC to DC in case of the generator, and convert DC to AC in case of the motor. The commutator segments are insulated to each other by the insulating material like the mica. This is the process arrangement. This is the commutator segment, and this is the process, and process press the commutator segments. Insulation of each other commutator segments. Each armature conductor is connected with the commutator. So in this way the two commutator segments and the two armature conductors. This is the another view of the commutator. This is the two commutator segments, and this is the armature conductor, the two conductors. This is the one-turn coil. One-turn coil means two conductor. Conductor number 1 and conductor number 2. So the working principle of DC machine. This is the DC machine. You know the DC motor convert input electrical power into the output mechanical power. So when a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a mechanical force. The direction of mechanical force is given by the Fleming's left-hand rules, and its magnitude is given by the force equals to BIL. B is the flux density, I is the current, and L is the length of the conductor meter. So this way the DC motor which convert a electrical power into its output mechanical power. So to discuss more for the working principle of DC motor, this is the ADC motor. We place here, this is the north polarity and this is the south polarity, the two field poles. So the flux complete path from north to south. The direction of flux is from north to south. This is the B, flux density. The arrow indicate the direction of flux. And because this is the motor, so current is, electrical energy is coming from the supply, and through the field poles the current is flowing like this. So this way the conductor current is flowing in this direction, the direction of current, and the current flowing in second conductor is this. So in the north side, conductor's current in some side coming, and south side the conductor direction is opposite to this. Now we can find the direction of force by using Fleming's left-hand rules. What is the Fleming left-hand rules? If we place our left hand and we place the three fingers in parallel to each other in the 90 degree like this, so the B is the forefinger. Forefinger means the flux, F for 4 or F for flux. So you indicate the forefinger in the direction of flux, and the center finger for the C, and center finger indicate the current. Then the thumb direction indicate the thrust. So in a DC motor, when the current, we can apply the Fleming's left-hand rules here. The direction of current is this. You place in the center finger direction, and this is the flux from north to south, the forefinger. Then according to Fleming's left-hand rules, the thumb indicate the direction of thrust. So this is the upward. So this way the conductor can move due to the thrust in upward direction. And conductor near the north poles, the direction of current is this. So you place your finger of left hand in this direction of current, center finger, and the flux direction from north to south you place, then the thumb direction will indicate the thrust of force. So this is the downward direction. So in this way, due to the current and flux, a thrust will appear on a conductor, and due to this force the conductor will start to moving in this clockwise direction. We know in a DC motor, whenever current flowing through a conductor and conductor plays in a magnetic field, a force will experience on that conductor. Force or thrust direction can be found by using the Fleming's left-hand rules, and due to the thrust this conductor will start to rotating. So this is the example of one turn coils, so two conductors. So one conductor in the upward direction, another conductor thrust in the downward directions. So due to this cumulative effect of force or thrust, this one turn coil will start to rotate in the clockwise. So this is the real view of a DC motor. You know, this is the north pole and this is the south pole. The battery is connected now. The supply start to flow in this direction. Current is coming, and the direction of current from plus to minus inside the conductors, and the current is flowing now. And in this way, due to this magnetic flux or current, a thrust will appear on the conductors near the north pole and near the south poles. So the thrust will the upward near the south pole and downward thrust will be north pole, and due to this thrust this conductor or the coils will start to rotate like this. So in this way this will be rotating. So this is the, now we discuss the working principle of DC generator. We know the DC motor which convert a input electrical power into the mechanical power. Now this unit DC generator will convert a input mechanical power into the electrical power. So this is the generator, DC generator, and input is the mechanical power. Through the mechanical power we will provide the rotation of a conductors by a prime mover or by external source, and then this generator will convert this mechanical power into the output electrical power. The working principle is based on the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. It means whenever a conductor is cut by a magnetic flux, EMF will be induced across the armature conductors according to the rate of change of magnetic flux. And if the circuit is complete, then current will start to flow through a conductor. So in this way, when conductor is located in a unstable magnetic field and electromagnetic force gets induced within the conductor. So this is the view through which we can understand the DC generator working. So this is the one turn coil, the two conductors, one conductor and the other conductors. One turn coil means two conductors, and the flux is flowing from north to south. B is the flux density coming from north to south, and this is the brushes through which current will come out from the commutator segments. So DC generator means we provide a mechanical rotations. So the thrust on this conductor is upward and magnetic flux direction from north to south, and we can find the direction of current through this conductor by using Fleming's right hand rules. So we place our right hand rules finger, thumb, forefinger and the center finger in 90° to each other like this, and if we place our center finger in the direction of current, C for center, C for current, the center finger in the direction of current and the forefinger in the direction of flux, forefinger F, and F indicate the flux, so you indicate this forefinger in the direction of flux, and the thrust or thumb indicate the direction of motion. So in this way, in this conductor, if you place the thumb in the direction of thrust upward like this, and the direction of flux from north to south by the forefinger, then by using the Fleming's right hand rules, the center finger of this situation will give the direction of current. So the current is coming toward the brushes or commutator segments. Similarly, in the another conductor near the north, the thrust in downward direction and the flux from north to south. So by using the Fleming's right hand rules, we can find the direction of current in this also. So we find the direction of current is away from the brushes or commutator segment. So in this way, the current is flowing in a conductors. We know that whenever a conductor cut a magnetic flux, EMF will be induced across the conductors and current start to flow through a conductor, and the direction of current can be found by the Fleming's right hand rules. So in this way, the current is flowing like this. So this conductor current coming through the brushes in the external circuit outward and this in, and we can apply this electrical energy to any loads. So in this way, a DC generator work and it convert a mechanical energy into the electrical energy. So the EMF equation of DC machine, to derive the equation, let be the P is the number of field poles, phi is the flux produced per pole in Weber, Z is the total number of armature conductors, and A is the number of parallel paths. Number of parallel paths should be equal to 2 in case of the wave winding, and number of parallel paths should be equal to the number of field poles for the lap winding connection, and N is the rotation speed of the armature in revolution per minute. Now we know that whenever the conductors cut a magnetic flux, EMF will be induced. So the average EMF generated per conductor is given by the d phi upon dt. It means how much flux change in per unit of time. So for this we say in one rotation, in one revolution, if we say one conductor rotate one rotation, then each conductor come under the field poles. If the conductor come under the one pole, the flux is phi. Then the same conductor come in the another field poles, the total flux is the 2 phi. In this way, if the number of field poles are 3 or 4, then the flux cut by conductor is multiplied by field poles. So if the number of field poles are p, then the total flux cut by one conductor in one revolution equals to product of number of poles and the flux produced per pole. So the total d phi flux cut by one conductor in one revolution equals to p into phi. We know the number of revolution per second. N is the rotation speed of armature revolution per minute. So N rotation time is 1 minute. So 1 rotation time is 1 upon N. If you multiply the 60, so the time of one revolution is 60 upon n second. So dt is the time of one revolution, and this is equals to 60 upon n. So you can put dt equals to 60 upon n, and EMF generated per conductor is given by d phi upon dt. So you put d phi equals to p into phi, and you put dt equals to 60 upon n. In this way, the d phi upon dt equals to p into phi into n upon 60 volts. So this is the EMF generated per conductors. Now the number of conductors per parallel paths equal to the Z upon A, where Z is the number of conductors and A is the number of parallel paths. It means if the number of conductors are 1000 and number of parallel paths are 4, then the total conductors in one path is 1000 upon 4, it means 250. Number of parallel paths or A will be either the 2 in case of the wave winding, or number of parallel paths equals to number of field poles P in case of the left winding. So depending on the wave winding or left winding, number of parallel paths will vary, but the total conductors in one parallel path will be equals to Z upon A. So the conductors are connected in series per parallel paths, and EMF across the generated terminal is equal to the generated EMF across any parallel paths. So the total EMF generated in armature equals to d phi upon dt, which is the EMF generated by one conductor, and into number of conductors in parallel paths equals to Z upon A. So you multiply d phi n into Z upon 60A. So this is the total EMF. So this way the EMF equation is P phi Zn upon 60A volts, where P is the number of field poles, phi is the flux produced per pole in Weber, Z is the total number of armature conductors, A is the number of parallel paths in the armature, value of A will be either 2 in case of the wave winding, value of parallel paths A will be equals to the field poles P in case of the left winding, and N is the rotation speed of the armature in revolution per minute. The same EMF equation if the machine working as a generator is known as the generated EMF, and P phi Zn upon 60 volt, and if the machine working as a motor, then it is known as the back EMF, and equation is same. P phi Zn upon 60A. So we will use this EMF equation for further any work. Torque equation of DC motor. We know the electrical motor, DC motor, convert input electrical power into the output mechanical power. It means the mechanical power developed in the armature is converted from the electrical power. But the mechanical power developed in the armature is given by the torque into omega, where omega is given by 2 pi capital N upon 60, where capital N is the revolution per minute. So this is the mechanical power. And the electrical power input to the armature is given by the product of back EMF into armature current. So EV is the back EMF, I is the armature current. So the product of V into Y is the electrical power. This is the input power to the armature, and this electrical power is converted into the mechanical power, and which is equals to torque into 2 pi N upon 60A. So therefore mechanical power equals to the electrical power. Mechanical power is torque into 2 pi capital N upon 60 equals to electrical power, which is equals to EV into IA. So after the rearrange, we can put the EV equals to P phi Zn upon 60A, and you put so like this, and rearranging this equation for the torque. So armature torque equals to Pz upon 2 pi A into phi into Ia, where the P is the number of field poles remain constant, Z is the armature conductors which also remain constant after once you design a machine. 2 pi into A is the number of field poles which remain constant. Depending on the wave winding or left winding, A will be the same constant. So this factor is a constant factor. Indicate the K. Armature torque is the proportional to the product of flux into armature current. So this is the R torque. This way you can speed equation of DC motor. You know the E is the EMF equation, and this is the given by P phi Zn upon 60A. You know every point. P is the number of field poles, phi is the flux per pole, Z is the number of armature conductors, A is the number of parallel paths in armature, R is the speed of armature in revolution per minute. And just to rearrange this equation, so the N is the speed of armature is given by 60 into E into A upon P phi into Z, and out of this the constant factors are 60 into A upon P into Z. This is the constant, and into E upon phi. So you replace this constant K equals to 60A upon PZ into E upon phi. So we can say the speed is proportional to the EMF E upon flux phi. So we will use this speed equation for a DC machine in next. Now we can solve a numerical of this equation. The question is, a 4-pole left wound DC generator has a useful flux of 0.07 Weber per second poles. Calculate the generated EMF when it is rotated at a speed of 900 revolution per minute with the help of the prime mover. Armature consists of 440 number of conductors. Also calculate the generated EMF if left wound armature is replaced by the wave wound armature. So for the solution, what are the given values? P is the number of field poles are given 4, P is the 4. Left wound So left bound means number of field poles A should be equal to the P. DC generator has a useful flux phi value equals to 0.07 and speed is 900. So you have the P, Z value, phi and N. For the left bound, the first case you put A equals to P and P equals to 4. So you use this EMF equation formula P phi N into Z upon 60A. You put the P equals to 4, phi equals to 0.07 Weber, N is the 900 revolution per minute, that is the number of conductor 440 divided by 62 into A, and you place A equals, you put A value equals to 4 for left bound. So for left bound you put A equals to 4, you calculate it, its value is 462 volts. Second case, if the left bound is replaced by the wave bound, so you put the, for wave bound A equals to 2. So in the another you put for wave bound A value equals to 2. So like this. So again you calculate this and you find the value of 924 volts. In this way you can solve. At the numerical, 6-pole left bound DC machine has 36 slots, 8 turns per slot, a useful flux of 50 milliweber per pole. Calculate the generated EMF when it is rotated at a speed of 1000 rpm. So what are given? P is the rough field poles, and this is the 6 poles are given. Left bound is given. Slots are 36 and 8 turns per slots. 8 turns per slots. Total armature conductor turns कितने हुए? How many number of armature turns? You multiply 8 into 36. So total number of armature turns are 288. And you know the 1 turn equals to 2 conductors. So how many conductors? You multiplied by 2. So Z is the total armature conductors, and conductor equals to 2 into number turns. So you put 288. So 2 into 288 means 576. These are the number of armature conductors, because 1 turn equals to 2 conductors. Given phi is the 50 milliweber. You convert from milliweber to the Weber by multiplying by 10 की power minus 3. So this is the 0.05 Weber. N is given 1000. For left bound, so A should be equals to P and P is equals to 6. So you put all values in EMF equations. P phi N Z upon 60A. P equals to 6. Phi is the 0.05. N is the 1000. Z is the 576. Total number of armature conductors upon 60 into A equals to 6, because this is the left bound. Now you calculate it. So this is the 480 volts. In this way you can calculate this. And thank you very much for this lecture 1. We meet again in the lecture 2. Thanks again.